All right, everyone, it's 3:02. I think that we can kickstart. First and foremost, welcome to the kickoff webinar for Difc FinTech Hive's 2021 programming. Before I begin, I just want to check with my team that we are good to go. Okay, my team says it's good to go. All right, everyone, it's the time of year again where we announce our programs, and I get busy meeting all the bright and wonderful entrepreneurs all over the world who are looking to expand their fintech businesses out here in the Middle East. Now, we do have a presentation that I'd like to take you through. This entire session is being recorded just for your information. So feel free to not take notes if you don't want to. It'll be up on our YouTube channel for you to view after the matter. Now, just to quickly let you know what it is that we're going to present today. So first and foremost, I'm going to tell you what is Difc FinTech Hive. You may be dialing in from somewhere around the world where you're not familiar with who we are and what we do out here in the Middle East. Then I'll talk to you in general about our flagship accelerator program, followed by the 2021 timelines for the year. I'll also do a very quick overview of two other programs that we will be running in 2021, one of which being the Scale Up program and the other one being the Accelerator program. And towards the end of today's presentation, I'll let you know how to stay in touch. Now, I do hope to wrap up in about 30 minutes. We're giving a good 30 minutes after my presentation for Q&A. So meanwhile, if any question comes to mind, just jot it down. We'll do Q&A in the end, or you can feel free to type it in the Q&A box, and then I'll address it at the end. You have the option, I believe, to either raise your hand at the end and verbally ask your question, which would be a wonderful way to introduce yourself to me. Or if you're a little bit camera shy, you can also feel free to type it in the Q&A box. Now, there is a separate chat function, and just so you're all aware, everyone can view what you write in the chat function, and I will prioritize answering questions that come through the Q&A box first, whereas the chat function is more for you guys to kind of chit-chatter as the presentation goes on. And I won't be looking at either of them throughout the presentation because I cannot multitask, but I'll get to it towards the end. All right, so let's get on with telling you a little bit about Difc FinTech Hive. So for those of you who don't know, we're a part of the Dubai International Financial Center, which is the leading finance district out here in the Middle East. Now, the FinTech Hive was established in 2017, and we've been growing since then. We were launched as an accelerator program, and acceleration continues to be our bread and butter. We actually initially launched with one program, which is now our flagship program that we continue to operate every year. But we've also introduced different programs to support startups at the various stages of business life cycles. We have an early stage program, a scale up program, and I'll get to all of those in a little bit. But all in all, throughout the years, we've accelerated over 100 startups. Now, ultimately, because we're a financial district, we don't operate any of the programs the way a normal VC would, meaning that the objective is not necessarily to grow an equity share. Instead, we want to develop the fintech ecosystem out here in the region. So a lot of our programming is around working with companies, or rather startups, who will benefit from being plugged into an ecosystem working with banks. And so the number of B2B POCs with banks is something that we do measure, and over the last few years, I'm happy to say that we've, our startups rather, I can't take credit for it, have worked on over 75 POCs. Now, mentioning corporations, we also do a lot of corporate innovation work. We do hackathons, innovation sprints, and other internal innovation programs. Now, that's not the focus of this presentation, but if you happen to be a corporation listening to this and you'd like to learn more, just get in touch with me. Now, in parallel to all of this, we also run a co-working space, and we now have over 300 fintechs registered. In fact, when I walk up and down the corridors here in Difc, I keep seeing more and more offices pop up, which is super exciting. And obviously with an office space, we can also help you get a license, whether that's just the base operating license or even a regulatory license if you're the type of fintech who needs it. We also provide a support system around regulation. That's not necessarily FinTech Hive, but the regulator in the Difc does offer that. They're called DFSA, and their program is called the Innovation Tested License. Now, around all these activities, we run a pretty vibrant FinTech community. We do tons of events. Now, we have migrated most of them to be virtual, COVID and all, but it is still pretty active, and we do quite a lot. So if you're tuning in and you'd like to learn more and not necessarily partake in the accelerator programs, I always recommend people to follow us online. So either on LinkedIn or Instagram, we always post everything that we do. So if you follow us, you'll be notified and you'll make sure that you attend what is relevant to you. Now, for those of you who don't know DIFC, it's a financial district, physically, literally. We are in the heart of Dubai. Some of you may recognize the gate, which is actually an icon, and that's what's actually appearing here on the slide. Now, walking around DIFC, you'll see thousands of registered companies. Some of them are financial institutions, but others are companies that support and complement the financial industry. Now, the DIFC has a dedicated fintech fund. The fintech Hive does not make any investments in fintech companies, but there is a separate fund that is operational that does make investments in fintech companies. Now, like I've mentioned, we work with we've worked with over 100 startups, and these startups come from all over the world. You can, as a startup, choose to opt into one facet of our offering, but that doesn't mean that you need to partake in all. Meaning, you can choose to explore the market through our acceleration programs without worrying about getting a license, and vice versa. If you want to get a license, but you don't want to give the time and resources for the market access that our program provides, you're also free to do that. Now, it's important to highlight that our startups do come from all over the world. Luckily, actually last year, because we had a hybrid virtual format, the level of participation from international startups was quite high, because it meant that you as a startup could partake in something happening in Dubai without having to incur the costs of being here, nor the opportunity cost, to that matter, of your time. Now, I always tell people we're based in Dubai and Dubai only, but we've gone and made friends all over the world in order to, at the end of the day, provide somewhat of a global support network for our startups. So where DIFC is not physically present, basically outside the UAE, our startups can still leverage global exposure through our global network of other fintech hubs and associations. We actually do have a global fintech forum taking place in April. And again, I encourage you to follow us on LinkedIn and Instagram to be notified once the date for that is final. We're just working on the logistics in the background. Now, we run a really big ecosystem of institutional partnerships in order to make things happen for our startups. On the slide are just some of the companies that provide their time and resources in order to make things happen. And the point really of the slide is not so much to brag about the variety or power of some of the logos, but to show the breadth and support that we offer. So we provide everything from funding to tech support to talent management support, you name it. And luckily enough, because we're DIFC, plenty of institutions reach out to us in order to give back to the community by supporting startups. Now, onto our accelerator programs. Like I mentioned in the beginning, I'm going to give you an overview of our programs over the years and then delve into the 2021 timelines. First and foremost, is FinTech even still a thing? My answer to you is yes. Now, though the startup ecosystem globally, and in fact, investing globally took a hit last year, that was because of a one-off, let's say, once-in-a-lifetime experience that is a pandemic by nature. But as you can see from this chart that shows total funding numbers in FinTech investments globally, things are picking up again, and we have seen them pick up so far to date in 2021, Q1 2021. Now, we internally create a support system for fintechs, and we are actually quite diverse in the various sub-facets of fintech. So we do look at conventional fintech, but then there's also Islamic FinTech. We always have a separate RegTech category, as well as a dedicated InsurTech track. Now, we started off in 2017, like I mentioned. We had a humble little program with 12 participants for a 12 startup size cohort. The number of applications was still pretty big. We had over 100 applicants, and that cohort together developed 6 POCs. Now, what's amazing to share with you is that between 2027 and between 2017 and 2018, the program doubles. So we went from a cohort size of 12 to 22, and actually the interest in the program tripled. So we went from just over 100 applications to just over 300, meaning that we must have done something right for word to get out on the street that this is a great support system for startups. Now, numbers grew even higher in 2019. We actually had a really big cohort that year of 31 fintechs, and the applications grew even more. So we went from just over 300 applicants to over 400. The point I'm trying to make here is that the program is getting more and more competitive to get into. Now, in 2020, the number of applications increased to 620. So you can just imagine the applications I had to go through. But because of the hybrid format, we wanted to not compromise on the level of quality that we could deliver virtually. So the cohort actually reduced in size, and we had 17 fintechs join last year. Now, none of this that is possible, or rather, none of what we achieve on the program and none of what the startups achieve throughout the program could be possible without the support of the financial institutions that sponsor the program. So I have up here the list of the corporations that we've been working with along the years, all of whom believe in innovation and believe in investing in startups in order to innovate, whether it's in the banking, payments, insurance industries, you name it, all these soft assets. Now, we have yet to release the list of partners who are working with us on the 2021 program, but I just want to highlight that it will definitely be a mix of international companies that have offices out here in Dubai, as well as local UAE-based companies. Now, the logos appear, again, not to brag about the logos, but the idea is that we want you to see the breadth of partners that you could develop B2B relationships with. I encourage you, even if you are working on a B2C model, to consider how your business can grow further by exploring a B2B relationship with a bank. Now, this program is very B2B banking focused, but we have had B2C companies come here, especially those that are abroad that want to expand in the Middle East, could consider doing that under a different type of model. So we're happy to work or facilitate conversations between the banks and the startups in order to discuss how to make things work for them out here in the region. Now, on to our 2021 programming, and this is what people have been pinging me on since January, actually. So we've decided to change the program up this year. Now, traditionally, just to give you a little bit of a background, we used to run a 3-month program that would always take place between September to November since 2017. And what we would do in the first half of the year is do a priority discussion with our banking partners and then scout accordingly. Now, we've come to realize over the last few years, as actually our banking partners have been more accustomed to working with startups, they like to have their own timelines in which to work with the startups in. So instead of forcing a 3-month program, we decided what is the most valuable component that we offer and how can we enhance this? And we came to realize that it's basically the access to banks. So putting the fintech founders in front of the right stakeholders at the financial institutions that they choose to work with, whether banks or insurance companies. So this is actually the bread and butter of the design this year, and we're going to have this occur twice. So the year is going to look as follows. We're going to have sprint A and we're going to have a sprint B. Now, we'll be receiving applications throughout the year. I will be scouting the applications against the priority requirements of the banking partners and notify startups in batches of sprint A and sprint B whether or not they qualify. And for those who qualify, we will allow them to present to an audience of the right stakeholders at these institutions. Following, the partners will tell me who are the fintechs that they see promise of working with, and they'll engage in further discussions. And that's when we allow you to take it further from here. Now, both programs will have the opportunity to present to a wider audience of media, investors, other members of the financial institution at our annual Investor Day. And we'll continue to do Investor Day in November, as we've been doing every year since 2017. Now, the format in which you could possibly meet these stakeholders would be hybrid. You can, of course, either have it digitally via Hopin, Zoom, whichever of these tools have been booming in stock price and valuation since COVID. But some may ask you to come and have in-person meetings. And to have these in-person meetings, they may have their own little event. They may have a boardroom discussion, speed networking pods. We really will run a flexible yet hybrid format. Now, the way you apply is you head on over to fintechhive.ae and you submit an application. It's as easy as that. So the minute you land on the homepage, you'll see a little pop-up banner appear on the bottom right-hand side, which is actually a screenshot of on the slide that you see right now. And all you have to do is hit apply now. Now, if you happen to navigate away from that, you can also at any point in time on the website, just scroll down to the footer and click on the button that says register your startup. This will divert you to a very, very, very simple application page where we basically just ask to know a little bit more about your company and what your company is looking for. Now, if you have submitted this form in the last 12 months, but you feel like your company has been updated since, feel free to submit in a new form. What I'll start doing as of April onwards is going through the database to see who is of interest to our partners. And then I'll start contacting you for more detailed interviews to learn more about your business, your prospects, your plans, trajectory, and all that. All right. Now, that's basically a little bit about the Accelerator program. Now, in parallel to that, we'll be running our Scale-Up program. The objective of the Scale-Up program, unlike the Accelerator program that's very much focused on B2B partnership and market access with the banks and insurance companies of the region, this program gets you to the decision makers of some of the most prominent investors in FinTech. Most of them happen to be VCs. So through this program, you have the opportunity to invest in them. So where in the first program, I'll be evaluating your technology and the suitability of your technology to the banking partners. The second program is more of an investment platform. Now, very similarly, I'll be reviewing applications in 2 batches this year. There will be a sprint A, there will be a sprint B, and you can apply using the exact same form. In fact, by the time you scroll to the bottom of the floor, there will be a multiple choice, not multiple choice, a choose all that applies type of question where you can select what are the programs you're interested in. And if both is of interest to you, then you can select. All right. Now, if you're tuning in and you happen to be a female, but not an entrepreneur with a business, but you want to get involved in FinTech Hive some way, I encourage you to keep an eye out for when we announce applications for our Accelerate Her program. Now, Accelerate Her has been taking place since 2019, and this is, it's not a program for FinTechs, it's a program for young ladies who are in the financial industry. So we don't mandate them to be a part of a startup. They can work for an established organization or run their own companies, and they would apply to receive mentorship, dedicated workshops, and so on and so forth. So we've been running multiple batches and cohorts of this, and this year we'll also run a program in a similar way as the acceleration programs, in that we're going to have a cycle A and a cycle B. Now, once the details for that has been finalized from our end, we will make an announcement. Again, I don't mean to sound like a broken record. Follow us on LinkedIn and Instagram, and we'll always keep you all posted. Now, with that, stay in touch. I just want to quickly give a shout out to my team. We're a team of 4 women here who run FinTech Hive. You can reach out to any one of us through any of our channels. Where, you know, I've been mentioning LinkedIn and Instagram quite a lot. You can also find a copy of this webinar and all other previous webinars and content that we build on YouTube. If you need to email us for whatever reason, you can email us at admin@fintechhive.ae. And with that, I've met my time cap, so I'm going to start taking Q&A. All right, so as mentioned, I'm going to give priority to the Q&A box, but you can also feel free to raise your hand if you're a participant and you wish to speak out loud your question. Okay, so question number 1 is, What are the priority requirements you're looking for in the fintechs this year? Now, very honestly put, the minimum I look for from a company readiness point of view is that the company has a product that they are ready to take to market. Now, there's no maximum cap to that matter, but naturally there are some companies that I feel would just be too large. So if you happen to have raised a Series A or B, the likelihood of the founder or CEO, him or herself, being involved in the program would be quite low. And we're not too fond of the idea of having a, let's say, sales or business development person pitch alone, because then the interaction with the bank becomes very sales driven as opposed to a two-way collaborative discussion. So that is kind of the criteria in terms of company size. Now, in terms of focus areas, honestly, it's very dependent on what the banks are looking for. So this program is sponsored by banks in order for us to scout technology for them. We're still in the process of finalizing our banking partners for the year. And until I onboard them and have priority discussions with them, I don't yet know what type of tech they're looking for. Now, every year we actually end up looking for different type of technology. And that's because our partners have been repeat partners, which is good for us. It's a good metric internally since 2017. But what that means is that when they've seen one type of technology in 1 year, they don't necessarily want to see a repeat. So sometimes I get some very strong companies apply who have very strong projections and very strong product and team behind it, but I have to decline their application. It has nothing to do with the prospect of the company, but rather we've kind of been there, done that, and testing that technology in our program, and we're looking for somewhat of a more diverse portfolio going forward. So I hope that answered your question. I'm going to mark that as done. Okay, next question. What are the stages of fintechs you are looking for within the scale-up program? Pre-seed, seed, or just Series A fintechs? Now, up to as of last year, the program was for companies who are raising a Series B and beyond. But we have actually had requests from our VC companies that they're interested in earlier stage companies. Now, I would say pre-seed is a little bit too early, but even if you're at seed onwards, I encourage you to apply. So I'll mark this question as done. I hope I answered it. The next question is, will you take a startup that is still an idea stage and is not a registered company? Now this question is twofold. Idea stage is too early. You need to have a product that you're ready to take to market, because our program is not mentorship driven, it's very POC driven. So unless you have a product ready to be tested, I'm afraid you're a little bit too early. Now, whether your company is registered or not is not a factor. And I actually always unofficially recommend companies to not bother registering until they're ready to invoice, because these are operational costs that you can save. So I don't look for where companies are registered, if they're registered at all. I focus very much on the technology and if the technology suits what my banking partners are looking for. All right, on to the next question. What happens if our app is 3/4 finished, but we need funding to move forward? Would we still be looked at? We already have a bank account and have done sandbox testing within the bank. So for whoever wrote this, I would say that is, I would need to see how far along are you. Because sometimes 3/4 of the way is enough, and maybe that last 1/4 of a mile is a POC with the bank. So I would say this is a very case-specific question, but I would encourage you to apply. Now, the next question is, it seems that the filtering is done mainly based on which fintechs would be of interest to banking partners. What if it's a great product or business, but not necessarily focused on banks? Then I'm afraid the flagship accelerator program is not relevant for you, unless if you want to explore a partnership with the bank in some way, shape, or form. And I have seen some B2C companies abroad explore a B2B partnership in the UAE through our program, because the effort to go to market is faster. So for whoever submitted this question, if you keep an open mind and you're interested in exploring, you're more than welcome to apply. Now, if you still want to be a part of FinTech Hive and you are not a B2B company focused on banking partnerships, there are still many other ways you can apply. You can partake in the Scale Up program. You can get a license here and operate in a co-working space and benefit from the community. The flagship accelerator program is not the only option, but it is the option I'm emphasizing on today because today happens to be the launch event for the program. I do hope this answers your question. So the next question is, I think I'll paraphrase, it may be written incorrectly. How do I review or edit or just check if it's on your table? What I'm assuming is, how do you review or edit your application? If you are confused, or let's say you want to revise what you've already submitted, just go ahead and submit a new application. So what I do is I filter for duplicate companies who have submitted applications, and then I always just keep the latest one submitted. Okay, so the next question is, what help can, again, I'm paraphrasing, what help can you offer startups in the pre-seed and idea phase? Now, if you are too early in your business life cycle or in your business journey to join our accelerator program, I do recommend you engage in our community. Now, the community is something that we run by way of virtual events and things like that. So you can always partake in those and learn from the people in our network. Now, don't forget that even if you're in pre-seed, if you are looking to get a license, that's another facet that DIFC can help you with. Now, the next question is, will you consider a company that has a product but fully self-funded so far? Yes. In fact, I don't ask you how you funded your business. Again, the accelerator program is very product platform focused. We don't invest. By the way, we don't take equity nor charge any fees for the startups who partake in this program. Therefore, I don't actually get into cash flow, financials, equity breakdown, or anything like that. I'm a bit of an easy reviewer that way, but I'm quite tough on the product review. Okay, so the next question says, we applied previously but didn't go through. Would you recommend applying again? Yes, I've had many people apply and reapply because hopefully you will have grown in the last year, and I'd like to see what you've been up to. So I definitely encourage you to apply whether you've made it previously or not. The next question is, how about, I'm going to paraphrase, how about a company in the process who's finalizing their license in DIFC but has a product in place to take off? Yes, you can absolutely apply. So I frankly don't look into where you're licensed. You don't have to be licensed in DIFC. You can come from anywhere in the world or not even have a license at all. This is a product development focused platform. So definitely apply. The next question is, what are the milestones needed for a company to reach seed and Series A in terms of revenues? So this is a question that is not relevant for me to answer. Basically, a seed and Series A is relating to your funding round, and revenues aren't necessarily a marker of that. So I would recommend you maybe brush up on some investing 101, and hopefully that'll help you. Or join an upcoming webinar we may have with a VC or funding partner, and you can ask a question for them to clarify. Okay, the next question is as follows. What stake does DIFC take for us to partake in the program? Nothing, zero, zilch. This is a free program for startups to partake in. All we ask is time and dedication. So the next question is, what do banks get in return? Do they expect to take equity after a POC? Now, every bank will have their own commercial discussions with the fintech partners. We don't engage in the discussions. Sometimes we see some startups give POCs for free. Oftentimes there's a billable amount. Sometimes there's like a partnership model whereby there's some kind of exclusivity agreement. It could take very many forms. We don't get involved in that, but we do provide legal support by way of legal clinics through our legal partners who can help you look at terms and like discussion, who can help you look at contracts, let's say, to know if you're making a solid decision or not, without giving legal advice. All right, so the next question is, what stake does DIFC take? I think I've answered this. I don't know if this is a repeat question. Next question. By the way, if anyone wants to raise their hand, feel free to raise your hand. I'd also be down to, oh, someone is raising their hand. So maybe let's take a break and have some interaction. Renat, I see you raising your hand. I'm gonna allow you to chat. Oh my, I don't think I know how to use this function. It's been a while. Let me figure it out. I'm adamant to allow Renat to chat. To my team, Fatma, if you're on the line, I would love it if you can come over and help me out with this, please. Okay, so whilst hey.
Hi,
so
Shireen. I enabled Renat to talk. So you can just unmute himself.
Okay.
Actually, he lowered his hand, but there's someone else. I'm gonna give them access right now.
Give them access, please. Yes.
Okay, Ajmal, you can unmute
so
yourself.
This is Ajmal.
Yeah. Ajmal, you're on mute, so we can't hear you. There should be an unmute button.
Sorry, hi, I'm back on. Can you hear me now?
Yes, finally.
Hello?
Someone else's voice other than mine. We can hear you. At least I can hear you.
Can you hear me now? Good, that's great.
Yeah.
Just by way of background, I've come from a financial services background. I was actually in Dubai when the DFC was set up. But I'm back in Dubai now, and I'm working on a program which is basically it's a bit like a let's say the closest thing I can give is the Uber of landscaping, where we are trying to capture, we're going to market and get all the people that are already in the industry and bring them through. But I need some financial companies, for example, a local bank, to be with me to do all the it's quite a complex transaction process, because I want the payment to be very very digitally done. There's no cash involved. It's all digitally enhanced. So is that something that would be considered?
I would encourage you to apply. I'm afraid I can't say what I'm looking for until I have discussions with my banking partners.
Okay.
And I must say, things that I normally would have said no to, crypto fans out there, I'm seeing a bit of hype towards. So I'm not able to tell unless I'm done doing what I have to do with the banking partners. I encourage you to apply. And by the way, welcome back to Dubai.
Thank you very much. Thank you for the time. Nice presentation. Thank you.
My pleasure. Fatma, I see someone else's hand up. If you can please help me. So this is Nadeem. I think it's Nadeem. Are you the Nadeem that I know? Let's let Fatma allow you to speak. You're on mute.
Hi, Shireen. It is Nadeem, the Nadeem that you know.
Hey.
Hey.
Nice to meet you.
First of all, thanks for a really informative session. This has been really eye-opening. And I just wanted to ask a quick question on how niche and how purely fintech can a product be. For example, if my product, the core of it is effectively a fintech product, which is when it comes to payments. But then the market it targets is not related to. My clientele aren't the banks, but I will need a strong bank partnership, for example, a strong tech payment solution, and then go after another target market, which in my case is the sports industry here. Would that qualify?
So, yes, in essence. So we don't look at only B2B business models where fintech's clients are banks, but we also look at B2B2C. So as long as as long as you can benefit from a partnership with the bank in some way,
absolutely,
the bank doesn't need to be your only client. The bank can, be a BIN sponsor or a payments partner or something of the sort. So hopefully that clarifies. I just realized I'm very B2B in my description.
Yeah. You did mention B2B and B2B2C earlier, which that's why when I heard that, I was like, okay, I think maybe let me just ask Shireen about that. So yeah, that explains a lot. Thanks so much.
Yeah, any kind of as long as you can demonstrate that you will benefit from engaging with banks, I don't limit that to mean that your clients are banks only.
Yeah, that you're solving a bank's problem, but you're solving a problem with the bank maybe.
Exactly, because you may in fact open doors for a bank in your own.
Yeah.
Cool.
Amazing, thank you.
No problem. Let's see. Does anyone else have their hand up? I don't think so. So maybe we can go back to me reading out questions. All right, next question is, as a fintech startup, we validated our model with a global bank already. Can you connect us to UAE banks? Yes, apply to the program. And if your business is of interest to my UAE banking partners, then yeah, you'll go forth in the application process. The next question is, what if I'm not developing a fintech, say talent management? So as I just mentioned verbally to Nadeem, you need to demonstrate value through working with a bank or insurance company in some way, shape, or form. If you're unable to do that, then frankly, you will not progress on this particular program. All right, so I'm going to go for the next question. Can we get to choose which sprints we participate in? No, unfortunately, because there's a bit of, let's say, bucketing of priorities that I need to do in the background. So if you are planning summer holidays or things like that, make sure for now, if you really want to get into the program, you keep at least June and October free for the sprint months. All right, the next question is, we are into open banking solutions. So is there any framework related to regulation to follow under the Accelerator, or will we have the chance to partner with banks? Excellent question. We have had open banking platforms partake in the program last year and the year prior. Now, DFSA, which is the regulator in the DIFC, does have a regime that allows open banking platforms to operate in. Now, I don't want to misinterpret the regime, so my advice to you is connect with DFSA. Usually, if you email them at fintech@dfsa.ae, they will be there to answer your questions. I believe that all their policies are also online, so their website is dfsa.ae, and you should be able to take it from there. All right, so the next question is, what's the Hive's opinion on blockchain solutions? So I cannot speak on behalf of the Hive, but I can give you my personal opinion. They were really hot back in 2018. All of our partners really wanted to get to know what's going on with blockchain, but the problem of blockchain, which is also ironically the benefit, is that it needs to have some kind of a network effect. So unless various players in the ecosystem are on the blockchain, then the value is not really realized. And I've seen the enthusiasm drop as a result. Now, again, I don't know if blockchain-based solutions will be something that I'm looking for this year until I have my priority discussions with my banking partners. But remember, blockchain is not a product. It is a platform on which another type of product is built. So what I will be evaluating is actually the product, not the fact that it's on the blockchain when the time comes. Being on the blockchain is more like a feature as opposed to a main cell, for me at least, as someone who scouts fintechs. Alrighty, I see someone's hands up. So Fatma, can you maybe help me with that? Zakaria? Zakaria, you're on mute. Fatma, are you able to help me, please? I don't know if you've enabled Zakaria.
They simply have to unmute. So they should like get a notification of me asking me. Oh, there we go.
Awesome.
Hello.
Hi, Zakaria. How are you?
Yeah, I'm good. I have some question. What if our main target is not the EU market?
The EU market?
No, not the EU, sorry. Your region.
Look, you need to display that working with banks in the region would benefit you. And by the way, when I say the region is pretty big. Like I'm talking MENA, because a lot of our banking partners serve MENA, sometimes all of Africa, sometimes like CEMEA as a region out of Dubai. So if you're looking to benefit from banking partnerships in, I don't know, LATAM, then this program is not for you, because the LATAM decision makers are on the other side of the world. And yeah, often I would encourage you to apply to programs there instead of here.
Okay, our main market is countries like Sudan, South Sudan, or Egypt, and yeah, East Africa.
So a lot of our banking partners actually serve Africa out of here. Just off the top of my mind, Adib operates in Egypt, HSBC operates in Egypt out of here, Visa operates the entire CEMEA region out of here, Standard Chartered operates East Africa out of here. So we're lucky in that Dubai operates a hub and spoke model for a lot of these banking partners. So I would say, given you're focused on East Africa, we have plenty of partners who can help you with that. So apply.
Okay, great.
You're not far off.
Thank you very much.
Super. All right, Fatma, you can choose who else on the list to allow to speak. We have two more. I see you've given Ahmed the rights. Hi, Ahmed.
Hi, Sharina. Hi, Fatima. How's everything? Thank you for hosting me. I have a couple of questions. First one is, I didn't get the reply of what is the benefit of banks right now. We are running a B2B application. We're building it right now. It will be up and running by the time that you choose. So what is the benefit for the banks?
Business opportunity, efficiency, access to the fintech technology. There's so many benefits for the banks.
Okay, this is number one.
It depends
number
on
two,
what you do as a business, you know.
Yeah. We are looking forward for SMBs, businesses, and supporting SMBs in the market. We are already under DFSA ITL evaluation right now. So
awesome.
I don't know.
Congratulations for getting on the ITL.
I hope we are getting approved. My second question here is should we be incorporated or not? Because we may or may not be accepted for the ITL. So
you don't need to be incorporated for this program. So like I said, you don't even need to have a license. And in fact, I won't force you to get a license. This program is purely to explore partnerships with financial institutions and insurance companies.
Sure. We are incorporated in USA. Should we be incorporated in Emirates also, or not needed?
Again, to reply, I don't mind. You can be incorporated in Bermuda. We are location of operations agnostic.
Great. Thank you so much, Fatima and Shalini. I'm looking forward to meet you guys.
No worries at all. Fatma, if you please allow me to allow Alexander. I apologize for butchering your name, but when Fatma allows you to speak, you can tell me what your name is.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
Yes, thanks, Shireen. This is Alexander. It's just different spelling. So thanks a lot for the presentation. Sounds very exciting. And I wanted to inquire, because on the website it says also InsurTech. Could you dwell a little bit about the exposure to the insurance companies or insurance providers, and how this relationship might be going for a startup that is aiming at insurance market? Thank you.
Sure. So firstly, anyone can review our list of partners that we've worked with throughout the years by visiting our website. You'll see a page called Partners. You click on there, and then you'll see a drop down. And I believe that we have a separate drop down for financial institution and a separate drop down for insurance partner. So just my first recommendation is you can check to see who are the companies that we've worked with by going on that website. Now, other than that, the way it works is exactly the same. I do a priority discussion with the insurance companies. They tell me what they're looking for, and then I bring solutions that matches them. And this happens in parallel to the banks. In fact, sometimes some insurance companies work with some banks, and some InsurTech startups work with banks, and some fintech startups work with insurance companies. So there is actually, the program works together. And I do the same process in that I speak to all partners, identify their requirements, and then I scout. So I don't yet know what InsurTech focus areas I'm scouting in, but I do encourage you to apply.
Perfect. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Good luck. All right, back to reading questions. The next question says, my company is DIFC Incorporated, but there will be I'll paraphrase. Will there be any DFSA or UAE Central Bank member available during the program, or is this a very generic program? So firstly, because we are DIFC and DIFC is a free zone, we don't engage with the UAE Central Bank on our program. That being said, DFSA is a partner in our program because they are the regulator of the DIFC. So we do run workshops, and DFSA resources are available to our fintechs that participate in our programs in order to support them. Now, does this mean wasla? No, but it means that support and time is available. I hope that answers your question. The next question is, which specific rights and responsibilities does a mentoring role contain, and how many online virtual meetings an hour a week would you consider normal? It's a bit of a vague question. My answer is as follows. The calendar is not fixed, but if you are dedicated to the program, keep all of June and all of October free. I can't quantify it yet because it depends on how popular you are. If every single partner wants to meet you, you're going to be busy. If 1 or 2 partners want to meet you, you're not going to be so busy. So it really depends on the dynamics and the program schedule and all that. Okay, the next question is, and I'll paraphrase. Hi, I'm interested in digital lending and credit decisioning opportunities in MENA. My answer to you is, if you are running a business in these areas, feel free to apply to the program. And if I'm scouting for these areas, then I'll let you in. But if you are not a fintech and you are just an enthusiast who wants to learn about these areas, I would say keep an eye out on our upcoming webinars. And if we happen to cover one of these topics, attend that webinar and learn more about it. Okay, the next question is, where can we refer to the list of banking partners for the current cohort? Now, the list of all partners in 2017, 18, 19, as well as 2020 is available on our website. Just go to partners and you'll see the list there. Our 2021 partners list is not announced, but spoiler alert, if you go through the list, you will see some names that are always repeated. That is my unofficial answer. Otherwise, stay tuned. Okay, the next question is, I'm a creator. I know the market. I can see the program. I'm not into, oh, I think this person is just giving a recommendation. Thank you. Okay, the next question is, when will you announce the bank's priorities for this year? I mean, a date or timeline. So we never announce it. This is actually like our business intelligence that sits in my mind, really. So everything is kept confidential because we discuss banks' strategies for the year. Yes, these are things that remain in my mind. That being said, though, we do I believe that we will run a webinar where we talk about trends for the year. So these will not necessarily be the bank's, private priorities, but it'll be trends by way of investing numbers and stuff like that, which we'll definitely cover at some point. Okay, the next question is, how does the Accelerator differ from Startup Bootcamp? So Startup Bootcamp was our early stage program that we were sponsors of, and Startup Bootcamp, we're running it at the IFC. They've run 3 cycles of that, and I believe last month was the demo day for the last program. So we don't have an upcoming Startup Bootcamp program. So if you are a fintech that will benefit from a partnership with a bank, I encourage you to apply to this Accelerator program that we are accepting applications for. All right, the next question is, how long does it take for applications to be processed? So much pressure. So we don't really process applications. So we maintain a database and we get your consent for submitting your startup's information on our database when you fill out the form online. And I constantly review the database whenever I get a partner request. Now, as and when I know the focus areas for the year, I will run through the database. And if you are relevant, I'll contact you. If you are not relevant, you will not hear back from me. This is kind of how it works. So please don't spam me. Unfortunately, a lot of people do. The next question is, will all programs run online? We will run a hybrid model this year. If some banks want to have meetings in person, then we will relay that information to you. And to be very honest, we're in the Middle East. There is like a Majlis chai culture here. So you're going to want those in-person meetings, trust me. Okay, so the next question is, what kind of POCs are insurers looking for in the region? Again, I can't really disclose business intelligence, but I would recommend that you apply, and if you're relevant in flavor of the year, then we'll contact you. All right, the next question is, sorry, I joined in late. Can you let me know the procedure? My answer to you is review the webinar recording that'll be placed on our YouTube channel very soon. Okay, the next question is, we are an Islamic robo-advisory registered in DIFC. As of today, can you please give us tips? My tip is apply to the program. And if you can benefit from a banking partnership, then we'll contact you. Otherwise, I'm afraid I'm not a mentor and I don't do mentoring. But on that note, we're launching something called Mentor Mondays. Fatma, when's the first date of the Mentor Mondays? Maybe you can chime in. But the idea behind that is that credible mentors who want to give their time in advising startups will be put forth to our community, and they'll share their experiences, address questions, give insights, and you can form a mentor-mentee relationship from there.
So the first date, Shireen, is April 12th. We're going to be kicking off, and keep an eye on our social media. We're going to be posting the dial-in link and registration link, sorry.
Awesome, cool. Thank you, Fatma. All right, one last question. Can you give an example of a POC that actually went into production? Yes. So off the top of my mind, one of my favorites, okay, I'm going to retract the word favorite, but one of our most in the news startups is a company called Hekba. They're based in KSA. They are, and I love using them as an example because they fit a lot of stories that I advise. They initially applied with a B2C model. We recommended that and they're a jam'iyya, which is basically a way for people to save money. Now, this is a heavily regulated industry, and one of the ways you can kind of overcome regulatory barriers is by partnering with banks. So with a very open mind, they joined the program, formed partnerships with various banks, Visa being one of them. So they actually have a partnership with Visa that you can research in the news. Since then, they have launched in KSA and are also operational with our regulator here in the UAE. So they're a great example of someone who's able to pivot in terms of business model, overcome regulation, but still also go into the regulatory, let's say, pipeline. Really, really wonderful business. The founder's a really great guy. I believe that's all the questions. All right, no one else has their hands up. I'm just gonna quickly check the chat box. All right, everything else seems addressed. Everyone, thank you very much for your time, and go to fintechhive.ae and apply. Good luck. Thank you, Fatma, for manning the call.